Do you want this kind of nice, crumbly soil for a garden, perfect for growing things? Today I'll tell you what a rotary harrow is. I'll recommend one because I've had a really great experience with it, and let's see how to achieve the same result. Hello to all the farmers, I hope you're all well. Today it's time to use the rotary harrow to refine the soil, but let's do a quick recap. We used the rotary tiller, we worked the soil. I told you I would use the vibro cultivator. I didn't use it because it rained these days, so the rain did the job of the vibro cultivator. I mean, if you look, the soil is totally crumbly, so we can absolutely work with the rotary harrow. Another particular thing about the soil, you'll see that we've already fertilized, so the steps are rotary tiller, vibro cultivator if needed to break up the soil even more, fertilization, rotary harrow, that's the process. Let's see when we can use the rotary harrow. You can use the rotary harrow on the soil when the soil is at the right moisture level. Look, you see that when you touch it, it crumbles. It's important to wait for the right moment to work with the rotary harrow, because if the soil is too wet, it will get compacted. So the rotary harrow brings out the worst in itself, meaning it mixes everything up. The soil becomes like bread dough. That's exactly what we need to avoid. If the soil is still very wet, you need to work it. In that case, use the vibro cultivator, which loosens the soil will still be loosened. This way, the moisture is drawn out of your soil. By pulling the moisture out of the soil, it dries faster when in contact with the ground, so you can work the soil. What you see here is a rotary harrow. It's one of the most amazing machines there is. Why? Because it can really refine the soil in an excellent way. This is very important for us because where the soil is nicely crumbled and well worked, we avoid soil layering, which is not always a good thing. Above all, we can work very well with the mulcher to cover the sheets properly. And last but not least, our seedlings take root better. What's the difference between a rotary harrow and the more common tiller? The tiller has a rotary movement on the horizontal axis, so it moves like this. By doing so, it creates a hard pan layer in the soil. What does it mean? That the blades, no matter how new or how angled they are, cut the soil and compact it. Especially during very rainy periods like in autumn, but unfortunately also in summer when heavy rainstorms hit. Creating a compacted layer like this during tillage means that water can't penetrate into the soil. Especially in soil like mine, which is clayey, so we have really significant water stagnation. The rotary harrow operates on a vertical axis, so it rotates this way. By doing this, it refines our soil and doesn't create any hard pan from working. Today in particular, we're using an AGRIEURO RH 170G. The machine is sturdy, so it can work well even on dry soil, since the rotation of the blades allows the breaking up of clods, even the hardest ones. But let's take a look at the technical features of this rotary harrow. External overall width of 210 cm with the guards installed. In my case, I haven't installed them. Actual working width is 170 cm, weight is 423 kilos. It's recommended for tractors with power between 40 and 70 HP. Mine is fully inside. We have 2 blades for each rotor for a total of 16 blades. The blades have a round support, so they create less friction. There are supports, a kind of partitions, that during operation prevent stones from getting into the rotors, allowing you to work even on soil that isn't perfectly loose. Let's review some details too. The cushion side covers allow for uniform work by preventing clods from escaping from the working surface, but they still adapt to the area's imperfections without getting stuck. We have a support for the drive shaft. For storage periods, the drive shaft is standard without a clutch but with a safety bolt. This means that in case of jamming, the machine won't break, only the safety bolt will break. The design, definitely innovative, features a series of gears with a smaller diameter compared to others on the market, allowing not only for lower power absorption. We have 16 blades for a total working area of 170 centimeters. A very interesting feature is the single greasing point for each rotor, so each one has its own bearing, and the gearbox with the cast iron reducer with gear transmission in an oil bath. I'll show you right now. The setup honestly is very simple. We just need to pay attention to a few things and then we can start working. There are only two settings we need to adjust. It's a pretty simple machine which consists of this bar you see here and the roller, adjusting them in height. We can decide how much we want to work the soil if we want to do a false seeding. So we'll only be working the top layer of our soil. We'll just do one pass with everything lowered. If, on the other hand, we want to go deeper, we, like in my case, keep the bar all the way up and the roller, which I can't lift now because it's so heavy. Once everything is set, you'll see that as soon as you lower it, it goes down. The rear bar, adjustable according to our needs, holds the soil, allowing us to work it further. You can also use your rotary harrow without the roller, but it's not a job I particularly like. It must be said that there are different rollers on the market, and each roller is used according to the type of work. We'll refine the soil using the rotary harrow. In some situations, especially for the more superficial part, it can also be used without doing any processing. But in that case, either toothed rollers are used or rollers with spurs are used. In this way, you work the soil differently. Let's say that to refine the soil, this type of roller is generally used, or a cage roller. The cage roller is the one I prefer for the effect it creates in the soil. These types of rollers, on the other hand, are much more recommended if there are stones in your soil. In fact, with the cage roller, the stones bounce around. In this way, instead, they are managed much more efficiently, and above all, this roller creates small waves in the soil. This is important to avoid creating a working crust, so when the soil dries, an impermeable crust forms on top. So, in any case, I opted for this type of roller because it's the most versatile one available. Keep in mind, though, that there are various others on the market that you can set up on your machine. The rotary harrow is a machine that's slightly more delicate compared to the tiller, which means it requires obsessive maintenance, especially when it comes to the mechanical parts. Each cover hides our spinning harrow, which needs lubrication. We should also follow the manual. Anyway, I recommend being generous with maintenance, meaning you should always check if everything is well lubricated. This will naturally improve the performance and durability of your harrow. The last special feature included is a bumper. In my case, I haven't installed it. You'll understand better when I'm working because I'll really be passing through some pretty tight spaces. By doing this, I risk hitting the plants. Here too, there are 2 screws to put on one side and 2 on the other. You generally use it to protect the entire outer casing, but I'd say I've talked enough. Let's get to work. Damn, it almost annoys me to go in there. Why is it so well done? Oh man, it breaks my heart and really sinks in. The workmanship is amazing. I told you before that I wasn't very convinced about the tubular roller that's installed, but I have to change my mind here too. These little ditches here still allow the soil to dry a bit faster. Now let's check the depth. Working depth, what could it be? It's about 20 centimeters, so the height of the tines is that of the harrow. Keep in mind that we also have the rotary tiller that made some tines. Depth is about 30 centimeters, so we have soil that's all grooved underneath and the harrow has passed over the top. I'd say this is fantastic work. Tomorrow we'll move on to the mulch layer. Now someone might say to give the soil a second pass to make it even finer. Honestly, I don't feel the need for it. In my opinion, it's perfectly fine as it is. The mulch layer will work really well. Anyway, I have to say that it worked really well. I was probably good myself at being so precise. Wow, really. Down here, in the description, I'll leave you the link. For the rotary harrow, there are also different sizes, so you can get it smaller or bigger, depending on your needs. My main goal was to show you how to use a rotary harrow, explain what it does, and demonstrate one that actually works well for its purpose. I definitely get one for myself. Farmers, see you in the next video.